Welcome to season 2, episode 2 of the Buffalo Sports Conversation Room. With kickoff starting this Thursday, I'm your host, Jamie Malloy, and I'm very excited to talk about it with my co host, Joe Dalio, about the Buffalo Bills and all things football. So, without any further hesitation, here's Joe. Hey, Joe.
How's it going?
I'm great. It's good to be back. We had a good talk backstage, and I think we were just talking about the season starts Thursday with the Ravens and the Chiefs, and then the Bills start Sunday 1 o'clock with the Cardinals, and then the 4 o'clock game on Fox, the Cowboys and the Browns is Tom Brady's announcing debut. On Fox.
Yeah, there's just we were talking backstage, like you said, and I told you and I shared how I'm kind of shocked that we're here. We've been waiting for it for a long time, it seems like, and we have, but still in a little bit of disbelief that it's here. And I was just thinking about that and reflecting earlier. There's a lot of newness in the air here. I am a teacher. My first day of school's tomorrow, so a new school year coming up for me. Summer's over, but like I said, a new group of things happening here, including football and a new NFL season coming upon us here. So looking very much forward to this. I am so glad that we're able to talk about it. And now it actually means something. These games are, preseason, you learn some things there, and it's good to watch and follow some of the players. And we'll talk about the preseason still coming up here. But still, the fact that we're talking about real football that counts and the season being upon us is very, very exciting.
Yes, and indeed it is. So, Joe, let's start off with the Bills' 53-man roster and who we thought were surprises that the Bills cut and kept. So, two players I was glad they kept were Joe Andresen. And the reason is because the legend of Buffalo Joe continues. After he started as an unknown commodity at Lancaster High School, then he played his 4-year football and his undergrad degree at Bryant University, where he had All-America honors. Then he transferred to UB for his graduate year of football and also his grad degree. Played well there despite a 3-9 season. Got his grad degree there and also got a 53-man rookie tryout to Bills camp, which is really cool. And then he played really well in his first preseason game against Pittsburgh with 12 tackles. And then he played well enough against Carolina, and lo and behold, he gets the call, makes the 53-man roster. And then as for Damar Hamlin, I really can't say enough of how proud I am of Damar. I mean, he was drafted by the Bills in 2021, got some playing time in 2023 with some injuries, and tragically almost perished right on the football field on Monday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals right before our eyes. Mm-hmm. We had a great CPR staff that was heroic in his recovery, got an SB for that, came back, and now he's going to be one of the starting safeties alongside Taylor Rapp and Mike Anderson, with Jordan Poyer gone and Micah Hyde still his future on the fence. So, Joe, what do you think about these players' accomplishments?
Well, we didn't discuss our positive and negative surprise lists before, but as far as the two positives that I had on mine, the exact same thing. First of all, I have 3 daughters that graduated from Lancaster High School here in the Buffalo area. So, and they know who Joe Andresen is, never talked to him or spent time with him, but certainly knew, who he is and who he was at school. So the fact that the town I've lived in here for the last 17 years has a local boy playing with the local team and coming out of nowhere to make the team is just an unbelievable story. And, I read something in the Buffalo News here too, just saying how that's not just great for him and not just great for the Bills, but it's just great for football in all of Western New York here. Now, anybody could think, or at least, feel like hey, if things go well, you got a chance. And it's an inspirational story. Great to see somebody like this, make it. And hopefully this is just the start. Hopefully, he can keep going forward and get some game time here, perhaps. I mean, he's like third on the linebacker depth chart, but other people were too. Matt Milano was second on the depth chart and turned out to be one of the best linebackers in the league. So, I'm not saying at this point Andreessen is compared to Milano, but still, we've seen so many players work their way up. You just mentioned one, Damar Hamlin, right? He started low on the depth chart here and worked his way up. Worked his way up past death, basically, right? You just explained how he pretty much died on the field and was saved by the amazing staff there. Was on the verge a couple of times of being let go, and now just deservedly so is going to be a part of this team and that starting, perhaps here. So that's just a great story about how, again, not only coming back. I mean, the great story in itself is coming back from being dead on the field, but also, again, how many times do we hear his name talking about, he's going to be let go and he's definitely not going to make this 53-man roster, and great story, but no, but now he's starting here at safety for the Bills. So two great stories here that hopefully it's not the end for them, but kind of just for Andreessen the beginning, for Hamlin just another continuation of an excellent story.
Exactly. That's how I feel about both of those players. And that's what McDermott wants on this team. He wants hardworking, he wants gritty players, and he wants character. He'll test with anybody in terms of character. So
Exactly. Now I'm curious, who were some of the surprises on the other side as far as people that didn't make the team that you thought might?
I would say Justin Shorter, the 5th-round wide receiver, the 2023 draft pick, because the Bills don't usually cut draft picks. I thought Anthony Brown and Ben DiNucci were also surprise cuts, being a quarterbacks.
Yep.
And everything. So those are my surprises. But what about yours, Joe?
And again, we have not compared notes before this conversation, but those were the highest on my list. Now, I didn't think they would keep both Ben DiNucci and Anthony Brown. I figured one of them would stay. I thought it would be DiNucci, and really, again, they're just fighting for a third-string quarterback job. But I thought, Mitch Trubisky, no offense to him, hasn't been that impressive and got injured a little bit. I thought maybe DiNucci could fight his way up to the number 2 spot, if Trubisky continued to struggle. But I was kind of surprised that he didn't get that chance. And, Anthony Brown, I mean, he kind of came from nowhere here, and not as surprised that he got let go, but I was most surprised that both of them were not kept. Also, same thing, Justin Shorter, Tyrell Shavers, although he did make the practice squad. Andy Isabella, again, surprised that they all got cut. I think one of the biggest surprises for me was Frank Gore Jr. Now, again, I know he's on the practice squad. I saw him on that list today, but talk about somebody who earned their way to an opportunity. 33 carries, 163 yards, and a touchdown in the preseason. Now, again, I know it's preseason and he's going against weaker defenses, but I thought he showed a lot, and I was a little surprised that he didn't get an opportunity with the team. In fact, that's probably my biggest surprise, besides the fact that they didn't keep either one of those backup quarterbacks. So, that's who I would say would be on my list as far as surprises that didn't make it.
And I would agree with all those. So actually, let's talk about a backup quarterback that the Bills did sign, and they know him from the division, and Cowboys fans know him from as well. Quarterback Mike White was signed to the practice squad after being released by the Miami Dolphins. With backup Mitch Trubisky, the signing of White makes sense. A 5th-round pick by the Cowboys in 2018, in the same draft class that Josh Allen was drafted in by the Bills with the 7th overall pick. The seasoned quarterback has 14 regular season showings and 7 starts. Not sure if you remember this, Joe, but I do. When he played here last in 2012 for the Jets, he got pummeled by none other than Matt Milano
Right.
and sent to the hospital, sadly, for precautionary purposes. With that said, though, White said, when I go to Highmark Stadium, I'm sure there's going to be a piece of my rib on the 30-yard line, saying that jokingly. And so, Joe, what do you think of the Bills sending a Mike White and also joking that I don't want to be locker mates with Matt Milano, even though they're friends and teammates now? And again, he was joking when he said that, too.
Yeah, and I didn't hear those comments beforehand, so that's pretty comical. I like the attitude. I just a little surprised. I mean, I don't see him as much of an upgrade compared to the other guys that we just mentioned, that were not kept. So, I mean, I'm sure there's not a lot available that are much of an upgrade, but again, somebody to have around and give a try. I don't know what they see in him that they didn't see in some of those other guys. But again, I'm not the general manager. I'm not the talent evaluator on this team, and I certainly trust those people because they've made a lot more right calls, good calls than bad ones. So I certainly trust what they were doing. Hey, again, let's see what the guy can do. And again, they're fighting for a 3rd string quarterback spot, so it's not like we're trying to find a guy here that's going to lead the team, and God forbid. That the team is ever in that situation, because if Allen goes down, there's not that much, hope behind him. No offense to these guys. And, I'm not trying to knock them, but I think we would all agree that there's a huge gap in talent level between Josh Allen and between the rest of the quarterback selections here. So again, we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't even matter. Hopefully it's not a question that we're actually going to get to answer here, but good for him that he gets a chance. And like I said, I like the attitude and the lightheartedness and joking around, and that's always good. What
yeah,
did
he's a dog. What?
Do you see anything that I'm not here, or?
Yes, I actually do.
Okay.
I watched it make his first start ever with the New York Jets against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Jets were 2-7, and the Bengals were like 5-4, I think, and he beat the Bengals in his first ever career start.
Okay.
When he was like the 3rd string quarterback, because they were having problems figuring out who their quarterback was at the time, but that was the year they were taking for Zach Wilson. So
right.
Anyway, he's made a lot of starts with the Jets, and in 2022, he came in and actually served a purpose when Zach White was hurt and made a few starts under his belt. He's a competent guy, and I think he's a dog, and he plays with a chip on his shoulder, so he can do it, I think. And like I said, Mr. Trubisky, even though he didn't look that great in preseason, has proven that he could do it before. So. So, but Mike White's a dog, man. You can see how he handles himself in his press conferences.
Yeah, I like how you say confidence, because when you make comments like that, the guy got leveled into the turf by Matt Milano. And, when a guy's joking about it like that, or, just saying, I'm not going to, to sit near him, or whatever it was that he said, to me, those comments display confidence. So I like that attitude, and it's good to see, and nice to know you got somebody who believes that they can contribute if they're needed.
No, like I said, he's got that dog in him, where that dog mentality where he's not just bark, he bites when the opportunity presents itself. So, but anyway, now Joe, 2 players that are not surprises that I think are going to shine this season and help the offense with Josh Allen are rookies, running backs Ray Davis and Keon Coleman. Davis is on pace to be James Cook's backup in week 1 and hopefully be one of the kick returners in the new dynamic kickoff and bring a new look to the Bills offense. And after having a great preseason, the former Kentucky Wildcat didn't fumble in 16 carries. And in fact, when we drafted him, he was the first ever running back to rush for 1,000 yards at 3 different schools and 2 different SEC schools.
Mm-hmm.
And also, in his last preseason game, Davis tallied 7.3 yards per carry and an 84.7 Pro Football Focus rushing grade. During his playing time of 5 seasons with Temple, Vandy, and Kentucky, excuse me, Davis rushed for 3,626 yards on 29 carries. So, Joe, how do you think Davis is going to do this season with the Bills?
It'll be interesting to see. Now, I had that in my notes here. I noticed that too. He had the 2,000 yard plus seasons there with Vanderbilt and Kentucky. So that's not easy to do in the SEC, going against some great defenses there. I saw potential in the preseason. Now, I wasn't too impressed, but again, it's hard to tell. They're playing their first games against NFL competition here, so a lot remains to be seen. And I think, again, he's a good backup to James Cook. And, he may get opportunities there, like you said, on kickoff returns and maybe an opportunity to shine there. But hopefully he's one of those players we were just talking about a little while ago that can grow and, get themselves to a spot where you see that growth and make contributions to the team. So kind of too early to tell, but that college track record certainly is nothing to, shy away from there. And, we'll see what he can do.
Exactly. Moving on to Mr. Trenchcoats, Keon Coleman, with Khalil Shakir being the only face Josh Allen is familiar with on the receiving corps, Coleman is a welcome addition, and indeed he is, on and off the field.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills' second-round pick had 11 touchdowns last season at Florida State, and the electrifying receiver caught 50 passes for 658 yards. With Allen's arm and Coleman's speed and talent, there's no telling what the two where they can take the Buffalo Bills this season. So, Joe, do you think Coleman is going to be able to fill in for Stephon Diggs?
Eventually, I think he can. He's certainly not at Diggs' level yet. Now, I know the Seminoles can certainly use him right now because they started 0-2 against inferior competition and basically out of the national championship conversation a day after Labor Day, which is sad, especially for my good friends in Tallahassee there. But, one thing I didn't know, he had 11 touchdowns last year with the Seminoles. And was also a regular punt returner there, too. Now, I doubt that the Bills would use him in that capacity, just, again, because of all the potential as a wide receiver. And you don't want to take a risk there. But the only problem, and I think this is something that he'll learn, and I think if he can make this step here, I've heard it from college people. I've heard it from, people that observed, in the preseason so far, is that he's having some difficulty separating from the defenders. And again, that's just an adjustment to the NFL. If he can adjust to that and learn, again, how to separate, he's obviously got the speed and he's obviously got the talent. And he's obviously got the personality, that's for sure. And he certainly added some positive personality to this team. Maybe that's a good replacement to some of the negative personality that walked out the door, but we won't go there. But again, that's what he's going to have to do. And it seems to be the biggest struggle so far is just getting away and getting himself open, to be able to make some key plays. But certainly no doubt with the speed and talent there that, again, I think that if that's the biggest problem right now, I think that's something that he can learn and make a difference even more, once he can do that. But I definitely think he'll make a contribution to this team and definitely add to that receiving core and, make up, maybe not fully right away, but make up for what we lost in Stephon Diggs there. What about you?
I think he could make an immediate impact because I think even if he doesn't look for the ball, he's not going to basically cry for the ball all the time like Diggs tried to do. He
Right.
knows that this is a running type of offense that's going to help Josh Allen do what he does in the passing game and his own running abilities. So yeah, he understands where he's coming from, whereas Diggs didn't, and that's why Diggs is now with Houston, and D'Amico Ryans is going to help him clean that up, and Coleman is ready to go with McDermott, I think. So, guess what, Joe? It is now that time in our show for our question of the week segment. Would you like to give it a try?
Bring it on.
Okay, Joe, here's your question. Can you guess this quarterback? He played on 2 teams, was an 8-time Pro Bowler. It was 6 all-time in passing touchdowns. Is it Matthew Stafford, Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, or Aaron Rodgers?
My goodness, it could be any of those 4. So 6th all time, you said?
Yep.
Wow. It could literally be any of those 4. I'm just trying to think of something. Now, you mentioned Rivers, Rodgers, Ryan, you said?
Yep.
Matt Ryan, and who was the other one that I'm missing there?
Matthew Stafford.
I don't think Stafford. Now, I'm trying to think of guys that played on 2 teams, and I think everybody you mentioned here played on 2 teams. God, I don't have any idea. Part of me wants to say Aaron Rodgers, but even though he played for half of a quarter on 1 team. All right, I'm going to avoid that, and I am going to go with my gut here and say Phillip Rivers.
Trust that gut, Joe. You got it right. It was Phillip Rivers.
Excellent. I've been eating enough, so I guess I should trust the gut these days. But no, just kidding. So, all right. Well, so I'm 1 for 2 so far in our trivia questions for season 2. So 50% right now. I'll take it.
Hey, just like that Jersey Mike's commercial, I trusted my gut, and that's where the sandwich is going to go.
And that's where it ended
Anyway.
up. And again, I literally had a 25% chance of getting this one because there was no process of elimination. It's just, yeah, again, just going longevity. The longest tenure is kind of what made me choose Rivers. So glad I got it. Good question.
Congratulations, buddy. You got it.
All right. Thank you.
So last week we did our predictions on the 18-week Bills schedule, and I have them going 12-5, and you had them going 10-7. So Joe thought this week, thank you, Joe, that it would be fun for us to make our predictions for each division winner. So Joe, do you want to take it over from here?
Yeah, well, we can do that. Now, this is one of my favorite things that I do, and I've said this on the show before. Why, I don't know, because some of the predictions I made have made me look foolish, as in saying the Detroit Lions wouldn't come close to the playoffs last year. Am I going to say that again this year? Stay tuned. But, saying that, the Tennessee Titans would win the division last year, certain things like that. Now, some of my predictions do come true. And, I pay to make some predictions, if you know what I'm saying, and I do pretty well there. But, why I'm taking a chance and making, myself look foolish again. I don't know why I enjoy this so much, but I certainly do. So when we talked about the Bills and the AFC East last week, I actually said, and I'm going to stick with this. I hope I'm wrong, again, being on a Bills podcast, and I hope people aren't just shutting us off right now because I'm saying this. I picked the Jets to win the division. I said both they and the Bills would be 10-7. I do think the Bills will be a wild card, and I did say, and again we'll talk about some of these division situations potentially coming up here in a second. I said that even though the Bills, I had them as being like a 6 seed, I could see them, beating, one of the division winners there and then potentially going from there. So we'll talk about that coming up. So you had said that the Bills will win the division at 12-5. Do you have anybody else in the AFC East making the playoffs?
Yes, I have the Jets in second place at 10-7 and one of the wild card teams.
Okay. What about the Dolphins?
I got the Dolphins in third place at 9-8. And I got the Patriots going 5-12 in fourth place in the AFC East.
Okay, I agree with both of those. And okay, so I'm not the only crazy one here. Now, I had this conversation with people about the Dolphins, and that's one team that people are high on. And when I said I don't think the Dolphins are going to make the playoffs, people thought I was crazy. And again, they have a right to think about that, and they're probably right. But I'd see the Dolphins having a down year, going 9-8. As soon as somebody blows on Tua the wrong way and he falls down and gets hurt, then that's going to be a big blow for them. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Again, I want to see marquee players in the NFL stay in there. I'd hate to see anybody, even if it's on a divisional opponent, hate to see anybody, get hurt. And I'm certainly hoping that doesn't happen for him. But that potential, of course, is there. And I see the Dolphins taking a step back, going 9-8 and rebuilding year, obviously, for the Patriots. So, all right. So we're pretty much in agreement as far as who's coming out of the East. Just we disagree on the order of that. Mm-hmm. All right. So now what a lot of people are saying, one of the toughest divisions in the NFL, you have the AFC North. Okay. So do you want to tell us, you want to go first here and give us your prediction as far as who's coming out, who's going to win the division and any potential playoff teams there?
Yeah, sure. So I got in first place with a potential record of 14-3.
Wow.
And this is a team that with John Harbaugh is going to continue to do great things, especially with the 1-2 punch of Jackson and Derrick Henry, the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
In second place with an 11-6 record, and this year hopefully healthy Deshaun Watson and improved receiving core and a Jim Schwartz coach defense that loves to just stop the run, the Cleveland Browns.
Wow.
In third place with a bounce back year record-wise of 10-7 and a healthy Joe Burrow, a.k.a. Joe Slim Shady Burrow, as Chairman John would like to say, for those who watch Open Mic Night, the Cincinnati Bengals. And in fourth place, our producer, Adam McNally, I know he's going to get mad when I say this, but the record is going to be 9-8 again. The Pittsburgh Steelers, led by Russell Wilson and then eventually Justin Fields in the second half. So that's my AFC North predictions, Joe. What do you?
All right. So you got the Ravens winning it. Now, do you have anybody else making the playoffs out of there?
Yeah, the Browns.
All right. Well, we're a little different here. Now, I think you were talking about Mr. Burrow there and comeback year for the Bengals. I have the Bengals winning this division. I really think it's going to be a comeback year. And I kind of think, the window might be closing there a little bit. But I think this is a year that the Bengals put things together again, and they're going to win this division. Now, upon saying that, and I don't have exact records like you did, which you went above and beyond there. That's awesome. But just basically, I have the Ravens as a close wild card there. and I think the Ravens will make the playoffs. The reason I don't have them winning it is I just think, I notice when teams have stinging losses in the postseason, it's difficult to come back from those. Especially the Ravens had Super Bowl hopes last year. A lot of people were thinking they were going to get there and win it. And to have to come close for a few years and not make it, I thought last year's loss to the Chiefs was like the peak there, and that was the most difficult loss of all of them. And it's hard to come back from those. And I think the Ravens may struggle to do so at first. I think their talent level is just, so high. And the players that you mentioned on that team are certainly Super Bowl contenders. And I think the Ravens will be a Super Bowl contender. I just think that the Bengals take the division and the Ravens come in a close second as a wild card. So I see the other teams both 9-8. I think, Pittsburgh is going to be getting used to their quarterback situation, and they always find a way to win games, even though when you wonder how this team wins sometimes. And the Browns, I do think, take a step back. I mean, with that defense, they're going to be in every game. They're still one of the best defenses in the NFL. I just think they take a step back, and I don't see the Steelers and the Browns in the playoffs, but I do see them both, right around the 500 mark there, and, still teams that you don't want to play. So, So we got that one there. All right. Now, another very interesting division here is the AFC South. And here's another, here's my Detroit Lions of 2024. All right, you ready? And people think I'm nuts, but I am saying this right now. The Houston Texans, the team that came alive last year with the great rookie quarterback and won their division and all that stuff. The Houston Texans do not make the playoffs in 2024. Again, steps back a little bit, not that there's not a lot of talent on that team. I think the number one reason is, again, they took the league by surprise last year. Nobody was ready for them. Now, people are going to be ready for them. People know the Houston Texans are out there. And since they won the division there the last week of the season, guess what? They have a first place schedule this year. And if I read correctly, I saw that as number 6, maybe the 6th toughest schedule in the NFL. So besides a competitive division and a very competitive AFC, some NFC opponents that are tough too. So a first place schedule for this team that I don't think is quite ready for prime time just yet. So I think Houston does not make the playoffs. The team that wins that division is a team that's been in the mix for the last couple of years, and I think finally puts it together. I'm talking about the Indianapolis Colts. A resurrected Jonathan Taylor that, can make some noise there, and above average defense from what I'm hearing there. So I think this team's been close. They choked away a couple of chances to win the division recently, and I think that doesn't happen this year, and I think they take it. And I think they're the only team in that division. Tennessee is going to compete with people. They'll be in last place. They'll compete. They'll beat some teams that they shouldn't. Jacksonville, I think, is mediocre. The Colts take it, and they're the only team, in my opinion, that come out of the South. How are you seeing that division?
Hey, Joe, you mentioned everything about the Colts, but you forgot the important ingredient.
I think I know exactly what you're going to say, and I meant to say that, and I did, but go ahead.
A healthy Anthony Richardson, hopefully.
And I think you're going to see a real accelerated development from him. But how do you see that division?
I think we think alike, Joe. In first place with an 11-6 record, and like you said, a rejuvenated Jonathan Taylor, a good defense, and a healthy Anthony Richardson, the Indianapolis Colts. And like you also said, Joe, I think everybody talks about C.J. Stroud being the best quarterback in that division. Mm-hmm. I think he also happened to count his blessings that Anthony Richardson was out the rest of the year, because he he played well with the 2-2 start. And I think Anthony Richardson can still challenge CJ Stroud as the best quarterback to come out of that draft. I really think he can.
I agree.
So, there you go. So in first place, I got the Colts at 11-6. As I said, in second place with a hangover year at 10-7 and a first place schedule in the AFC South, the Houston Texans. In third place with a 9-8 record, despite paying Trevor Lawrence godly money, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And in fourth place with a second-year Will Levis, a first-year head coach, new pair of running backs, and a new shiny offense to work with at 8-9, the Tennessee Titans.
Okay. So we are in agreement with that one there. Does anybody else besides Indianapolis go to the playoffs in that division?
If you said not Houston, maybe Jacksonville or possibly Tennessee, I think both of those two could sneak in depending on how the chips fall with them. And Will Levis, I think, is a guy that can lead the Titans to the postseason.
He could. I don't think it would happen this year, but we both have always talked highly of him, and certainly down the road, that's not beyond the realm of possibility. All right, let's wrap up in the AFC here with the AFC West. Again, interesting, and you got the two-time defending champs in there. Does anything change in the AFC West, Jamie?
It doesn't, but it's actually kind of wild how I have this division set up. I think it's got a chance to be a very competitive division with the three other teams in it having new coaches and one team having a brand new rookie quarterback who already looks the part. And preseason is going to start. A new head coach in Jim Harbaugh, and then the old bad boy Raiders attitude being reinvented with Antonio Pierce. So anyway, in first place, we actually have a tie for first place here, but in first place, winning the tiebreaker with an 11-6 record. But I don't know if they're going to three-peat in the Super Bowl. We'll have to see, the Kansas City Chiefs. And in second place, also with the 11-6 record, with Jim Harbaugh as a coach, a rejuvenated Justin Herbert, and a strong rushing attack, the LA Chargers. In third place with a 10-7 record and a possible candidate for Rookie of the Year at quarterback in Bo Nix, the Denver Broncos. And in fourth place with a 9-8 new attitude type of hard-nosed physicality, Mahomes rules type of football, the Las Vegas Raiders. So what do you got in the AFC West?
All right. I think I like your 11-6. Like I said, I didn't figure out records when I did these predictions, but I could see the Chiefs going 11-6 and winning that division. I think the Chargers 10-7 as a wild card. I think Jim Harbaugh makes a big difference there, and I think you finally see the potential of that Chargers team that I think they've had the last few seasons. I think the Raiders compete, and again, I like that big bad Oakland back in the day, attitude, Raiders attitude. I think they come like 9-8. They play hard for the coach, just like they did last year. And I think Denver's not quite ready for prime time yet. I could see them going something like 7-10. They come in last place. Not a horrible team, but I just think they're a year away, from competing. Now, we got the Chiefs making the playoffs there, and I do have the LA Chargers making the playoffs as well. So we'll talk about Super Bowl predictions after we go over the NFC. But so basically, to summarize for me, I have the Jets, Bengals, Colts, and Chiefs winning their divisions, and I have the Bills, Ravens, and Chargers as the wild card. So you have, if I can remember right here, you got the Bills, Ravens, you got the Colts as well, you got the Chiefs as well. You said you have the Jets making the playoffs.
Yeah.
All right. And what are your other two wild card teams? You got the Bengals making it too?
The Browns are,
Oh, the
I
Browns.
got the
That's right.
Browns.
Okay. And who's
And
your
then,
third?
and then I would say the Chargers obviously would be the third one.
All right, there we go. And again, we'll talk about who comes out of the AFC in a little bit. So let's go over to the NFC now. We'll start with the East again. It's not, I don't think anyway.
It's
The
not the
NFC
NFC least anymore.
That's exactly where I was going. I mean, I think you got, top to bottom, maybe not the best division in football, but I think you're going to have some serious competition there. So I say this year, again, we're talking about the Bengals coming back and kind of resurrecting a little bit. I think this is the year we see the Philadelphia Eagles bounce back. And I just don't have any faith in the Cowboys. It's just a soap opera there. And if the Cowboys do win this division, we all know what's going to happen. They're going to lose in the first round at home. So I see the Eagles taking this division. And I still think Dallas will be competitive and perhaps, make the playoffs here. But a team to look out for, in my opinion, is the Washington Commanders. I think they could be a sneaky, playoff team here. And I don't think they're going to make it. I don't, they're not one of my picks to make the playoffs here. But I would not be surprised if they snuck up on people. And if things don't go well in Philadelphia and if the soap opera, continues in Dallas, don't be surprised if this team sneaks in and wins that division. Again, I don't think it's going to happen, but I take the Eagles to win the division. Now, also one more team in that division, the Giants, and our old friend Brian Daboll there. And remember, we both correctly predicted last year that the Giants would take a step back. I think they take a step forward this year. I still think they're last place in the division. I still think they're under 500. But I think this team competes. And again, beat some teams maybe that you wouldn't think they would. And I think they're going to be a very competitive, fun to watch team. Daniel Jones is not as bad as people say he is. He's not as good as the potential that he had, but he's certainly not as bad as people are saying. And just my question is, how well does he come back from injury? So again, I got the Eagles winning this division, but Dallas as a wild card making the playoffs. Anything different that you see here?
To tell you the truth, Joe, like you said, Dallas is better off being a wild card because in that conference, just look at the 2022 Giants and the 2023 Packers. They pulled in, and look at even the Los Angeles Rams is a wild card team. They came close to upsetting Detroit in the first round, whereas the Giants did it. They beat Minnesota on the road in 2022, and then the Packers upset Dallas. So you're better off being a wild card team really in the NFC than you are winning the division, really.
It seems that way. Now, I don't care if the home team is 0-100. I would still rather have a playoff game at home. But
Right.
Based on what you're saying there, though, you're totally right because the wild cards have been showing up in those games.
Yeah. And it's the weaker conference. We feel like it's kind of
right.
Been. So anyway, my predictions: in first place with a record of 14-3, a bounce back year from Jalen Hurts, so good. And I don't know if Saquon Barkley's going to stay healthy. We'll see. He probably won't. But
I hope he does.
Yeah, but I think so too. The Philadelphia Eagles, I have in first place. In second place, and one of my wild card teams with a record of 11-6, the Cowboys showed that signing all their core players and not taking a running back was worth it. The Dallas Cowboys. In third place with a record of 8-9 and an improved competitive team, and the team that the Giants thought that they were getting under Brian Daboll all along in year 3, the New York G-Men. Mm-hmm. And in fourth place with a tone setting 6-11 first year under new head coach Dan. All I do is Quinn, no matter what. The Washington Commanders. So there you go. That's my NFC East prediction.
All right, so we're pretty much in agreement there. We just got Washington and the Giants flipped around there, but we got both. We both have the Eagles winning it and the Cowboys making the playoffs. All right, now last year, my biggest mistake here was counting out the Detroit Lions. So am I going to make that same mistake this year? No. All right. The Lions proved me wrong on so many occasions last year that it was just by the time it got to the end of the season and they were literally contending for the Super Bowl and were not too far away at all I could do is tip my hat to them and just admit that I was wrong. This team was good and just seemed to get better and then showed up in the playoffs. And again, we're not too far away, and now that I remember, they had a big lead in that NFC Championship game, didn't they? Didn't they have like a close? I forget what the score was.
17-0 around.
There we go. So they were this close, and there's no reason that they can't, get this close again. In fact, sneak preview, I think they will again come this close. But I think the Lions take that division. I think they continue to grow. They continue to progress. And all right, this time I'm not making that mistake. I think Detroit wins that division. Now, you got some other teams that are up and coming there too. Green Bay got better as the season went along. And they got some guy named Jordan Love there that's playing like his predecessors all of a sudden and showed that promise. And I think he's going to continue to do that. I think the Packers are a very close second in that division. And I think they're a wild card and they make the playoffs. And the Chicago Bears, I think, I saw, we watched Caleb Williams in that game against the Bills here. And he looked pretty impressive. And I think the Bears are going to take a step up. Decent defense there as well. I do think, though, that they come up a little bit short here. They might even be over 500, maybe like 9-8 or something like that. But I think there's other teams that come out ahead of them that make the playoffs. But I think the Bears compete. I think they're in the hunt all year long, and I think you're going to see drastic improvement from them. Obviously, big blow for the Vikings losing their quarterback. And even I think even if he was with them, I think the Vikings would have taken a step back. I see the Vikings, coming in last place in that division and this season being a struggle for them. I picked them for first place in the division last year. That was another one of my poor calls here. But I don't think it's rocket science to think that this year they're going to be a last place team here. So what's your take on that division?
Okay, so I think this is going to be a competitive, interesting division. So in first place with a record of 13-4, and Dan Campbell coming back, like he says, you don't want to get in a dogfight with this team, the Detroit Lions. In second place, and another NFC wildcard team at 11-6, we have a guy named Jordan. All you need is love, a Sunday kind of love. Love is unpredictable. What's love got to do with it? The Green Bay Packers. In third place, with an improving 10-7 record, a promising rookie quarterback, a dominant run game by not Taylor Swift, DeAndre Swift, and Rome Odunze, the Coliseum of Rome Odunze as a wide receiver, the Chicago Bears. Mm-hmm. And in fourth place with a step back 7-10 record with Sam, I still see Ghost Darnold, and JJ McCarthy healing from his surgery, the Minnesota Vikings, as Lizzo would say. So yeah, those are my NFC North predictions. As I said, Joe, the Packers are my wild card team, and in that division.
Excellent. Okay. So we'll have you start with the next couple. I was supposed to have you start with that one, but my mistake there. So we'll have you start with the next two. Now we're going to go to the NFC South, which I think is the weakest division in the league. But how do you see the NFC South taking shape here this year?
It is the weakest division in the league, but it's an opportunity for two teams to grab a lot of wins on their schedule. So in first place, and this is another tie for first place, but winning the tiebreaker and taking this NFC South at 11-6, and my first year coach having the best odds to win the division in 2024, Raheem Morris, the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay.
In second place, also with an identical 11-6 record, with the fresh contract of Baker Mayfield and his crew, and Todd Bowles is coming back as head coach, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In third place with a 9-8 record, but a team that's pulling from the San Francisco 49ers style of offense with Clint Kubiak as offensive coordinator. They're going to run the 49ers offense there, where they run the ball a lot to kill clock and have play action and pre-snap motion, the New Orleans Saints. And in fourth place with a hopefully improved Bryce Young, a hot new commodity, and head coach Dave Canales going in 4-13, which would be really an improvement from anything they did last year. Crazy to think about, the Carolina Panthers.
Excellent. All right. I think you're giving them a little more credit than I am as far as the records there. Now, I think you're going to have three teams in the mix, all ending up around the 9-8 mark. I think 9-8 wins that division. Again, I think it's the weakest division, although it's going to be very competitive. I think Carolina's on the outside looking in, again, still, taking those developmental steps. Hopefully, again, Bryce Young improves. But so I think they're out of the picture. I think the other three teams all compete. I think the team that takes this division, kind of like what I said with the Colts before about coming close a couple of times and being in the mix, I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints to win this division. I think Atlanta and Tampa are competing for it and are in the mix until the very end. But I think a 9-8 Saints team takes it. So the fact that they win it at 9-8 tells me that no other teams from this division are playoff bound. Do you agree with that? You see any wild cards coming out of here?
Well, actually, I do. Maybe the Tampa Bay Bucks, because I have them 11-6. But I have another team in the NFC West, which we'll get to, that also could be a wild card team too.
All right, perfect. And we'll go to the NFC West and the NFC, the defending NFC champ, San Francisco 49ers. So again, I'll start with you with this division. Do you see the 49ers continuing their dominance there, or does maybe somebody else potentially step up?
I see the 49ers continuing their dominance there. This is just not a good division. However, I do think there will be some teams that compete behind the 49ers. So in first place with a 13-4 record and a continuation of the Kyle Shanahan tote the rock offense with Christian McCaffrey, the San Francisco 49ers, or as Joe calls them, the Santa Clara 49ers. In second place, and this is one of my wild card teams that I was talking about here, with 11-6 record, and as long as they have Sean Pretty Boy McVay as head coach, running everything, the Los Angeles Rams come in second place. In third place, with a 9-8 record, in kind of their second year of collecting, drafting, and developing young talent phase here with Jonathan Gannon as head coach, the Arizona Cardinals. And in fourth place with an 8-9 record, with an exciting first year 37-year-old youngest coach in the league, Mike McDonald, a team that's going to continue to play great defense, but is going to have a new offense with quick passes, play action, and pre-snap motion, the Seattle Seahawks.
Interesting.
I got to go with 8-9. So
okay. We're pretty much in agreement there too. I have the Seahawks coming in third. I have the Cardinals coming in fourth. And I definitely have the 49ers still winning this division. I think they're a step ahead of the rest of the pack there. I think, again, some of those guys you just mentioned there, some of the best players in the league at their positions. They had these holdouts, which I think are being taken care of at this point. So looks like they're going to have the full cast back here. And I just don't see anybody beating the 49ers in that division. We both see pretty much the same picture in the NFC as was last year. Nothing much changing, at least nothing that we can see, because I have the Rams coming in second, and I have the Rams as the third wild card in the NFC as well. And again, the Seahawks and Cardinals behind them. So let's see. We both have the Eagles winning the East. We both have the Eagles coming out as a wild card. We both have the Lions winning the North, and I think we both have the Packers coming out of there as the wild card as well. You have in the NFC South, you said you have the Falcons winning that division. I said I have the Saints. Okay, and you said that so that the Bucks might come out of there as wild, or did you say the Bucks or the Rams as your wild card pick there?
I had either or.
Either or, okay. And so I don't have anybody else coming out of that division, but I have the 49ers winning the West, as you do, and the Rams coming out of there potentially as well. All right, so let's culminate this conversation here. We'll go to the AFC. Now, again, you got the possibility of history being made here. Who do you see coming out of the AFC going to the Super Bowl?
I know we say this every year, Joe, but I think this is the year we finally beat the Chiefs, and I think the time's finally right. It's good things. Those good things happen to those who win. I think it's the Bills. It's every bit of the Bills' time now.
All right. Well, I like that prediction, and I certainly hope you are correct. I see the Bills, as I said last week, again, to try to temper the anger a little bit here. Any listeners that don't like my Bills not winning the division pick, I do see the Bills as like a 6 seed. I could see them playing a team like the Colts in the first round of the playoffs on the road and beating them. I mean, the Bills, with their experience and being there before, and a team like the Colts that have been on the outside of the picture here for a while, I could see the Bills beating a team like that and then losing to somebody like maybe the Bengals or something like that. I hate to say this, and I tried to find every way around it. I don't see anybody, at least in the AFC, beating the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Chiefs go back to the Super Bowl. And again, I hate to admit that, but in the NFC, who is going to be the Bills' opponent according to Jamie's prediction here?
I would say the 49ers. However, I think this Super Bowl was made for a news story. The Bills and the Lions, two teams that have never won the big game, looking to finally win their first one.
Wouldn't that be awesome? I said before, the Lions came this close to making it to the Super Bowl last year. Unfortunately for them, I think the same thing is going to happen. I think they come this close. I don't think they choke away a 20-point lead, but I think they come within striking distance. I could see the Lions going to the NFC Championship game again. My pick to come out of the NFC is the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Jalen Hurts has the potential to be an MVP this year, and just that team is very well-rounded. And I have the Chiefs and the Eagles. I almost said the Phillies, but the Chiefs and the Eagles in the Super Bowl. All right, so I'm going to throw it over to you, Jamie. You got the Bills and you got the Lions. Which team wins their first Super Bowl in Super Bowl 59?
you know what? The Lions are a great story and everything. And Jared Goff, Dan Campbell, you're the man and everything. But to quote our favorite ESPN analyst, Chris Berman, in this game, and for the first time in their franchise history, since being in the AFL, the 2 AFL championships with Jack Kemp and going into the merger in 1966, nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
All right. So when we get comments from our viewers here and they all start saying, hey, we like Jamie a lot more than we like Joe, I understand why. So you're going to get all the positive comments. I'm going to get all the hate mail here. All right. So I have the Chiefs. I have the Eagles. And again, as much as I hate to say that, I never thought in my wildest dreams I would ever make a prediction for a team to three-peat. Heck, I didn't think
Joe, by the way, because you said the Chiefs in your wildest dreams.
Oh, I didn't even that was totally by accident. That didn't usually that's something, of course, I would say, but you got me on that one. I admit that was just an accidental pun there. But never did I ever think that I'd see a team three-peat in the NFL, especially with the parity that we have in this league. I just don't see any other way. I think for the first time in 59 Super Bowls here, for the first time ever in the era of parity, we're going to see the Kansas City Chiefs win their 3rd straight Super Bowl. I can't see it any other way. And believe me, I hope it doesn't happen. I like your scenario a lot better, but I just think that for the first time ever, we see a team win 3 straight Super Bowls, and that's how the season ends up.
And Joe, you might get a lot of comments for this one too. Think about it. It would be the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles, right?
Yeah.
Going back to the Super Bowl in 2025. And as we know, 2 years ago, in Super Bowl 57, that game was on Fox. Last year, it was on CBS. Well, since you said the Chiefs are playing the Eagles in this Super Bowl, guess which network's getting that game again, would get that game again?
I don't. Who has it this year?
It would be Fox.
Again? Wow. Okay. So
EA and Carissa, if you're listening, my buddy Joe here has got you guys doing the Eagles and the Chiefs again like you did 2 years ago.
Yep, that's how I see it.
Jerry, Howie, and all you guys too.
Right, with Tom Brady as commentating on it, right? Because that's who he's with, right? He's with Fox.
Yep.
And darn well he would be a part of this, so that would be very, very interesting.
But as like Evan said on open mic, though, do they let Patrick Mahomes 3P with Brady announcing, though? That's the thing.
Right.
It's one of the many
Does the NFL let it happen according to the script?
That's what Evan said.
Yeah.
But, anyway, it looks like we've come to the end of our show. So, Joe, where can we find you on social media on Tuesday? Yes, I got to say Tuesday now, September 3rd, 2024.
Oh, my goodness. I'm not shocked that you said Tuesday. I'm shocked that you said September. My goodness, we're moving fast. Joe Dell Sports on X Twitter. You can find some of my comments and articles on there.
Thank you, Joe. And then you can always find me, yours truly, on Bills Chat 1 at Bills Mafia Chat, and also at Jamie Malloy, the unbiased journalist, at DJ Dog Tags, and the Fork on X, and also the forkball.com, where I write about all sports. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and ring the bell for notifications. And for more content on Driving to the Top Productions, please visit our YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook stream, or wherever you consume your podcast. Thank you very much for listening. And remember, folks, the 2024 NFL season kicks off this Thursday. There will be a Friday night game in Brazil this week. And we will see if Ray Davis and Keon Coleman can live up to their talents as rookies this year. And to quote our friend, Chris Berman, nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. See you next week, folks.
Good night, everybody.
To rock this place.